Marina Jacobi has been presenting various topics on her show, The Harmonic Reactor, from Season 1 through Season 5 so far. This discussion is about a couple episodes during Season 3 and also one in Season 5. There were occasions where during her show someone would point out in the comments that they saw lights or orbs. But what was it really? What was it they really saw? That's what this discussion is about. We'll start with Season 3, Episode 6. At 17:30, you can see Marina responding to a request from a question, as she was channeling the Council of Nine. As she begins to respond, you see something that seems to pop out of her forehead as a spark of light, move upwards at an angle, morph into a smoky puff, and then dart up and out the top of the frame. What was that? It seemed to move in an unpredictable way. First it lit up, then it raised, then it went off on an angle, then it actually changed its angle subtly. And then suddenly dart up and out of the frame. Well, now that you've seen it a few times over and over again, and broken down frame by frame, you can see that it starts in one direction, heads up on an angle, adjusts its angle, and seems to propel itself out of the frame. So, what do you make of it? What's your perception of what you just saw? Okay, let's talk about one of the tools that I'm using here to display these images for you. This one tool in particular is called false color. False color is a set of arbitrary colors overlaid on features or details of a grayscale image, as from a scanning electron microscope, in order to distinguish those features and details more clearly. So the colors you see are a remapping of the images that are displayed. For example, you have black and white. It removes color, so it shows you things only on a grayscale, from black to white, and all shades of gray in between. False color, on the other hand, is a tool commonly used in astronomy, photography, in film, but for different reasons. In film and photography, false color is used to help identify where the maximum and minimum exposure values are. You don't want something too underexposed or overexposed, and that's how false color is used. But you can see an image like that, very similar to what you see on screen. However, in astronomy, for example, I think you may have seen images of nebula that are being photographed or filmed out in the cosmos, and they're shown with these beautiful, vibrant colors that are typically not visible to the naked eye. Instead, they're shown using infrared technology, etc. And while those aren't technically what are referred to as false colors, they can be a good representative or an example of what the color scheme intends to do, and that is to depict details that aren't visible to the naked eye. Aside from that, we've used black and white, and we've also magnified the image so that you could isolate that particular section more clearly. So those are the techniques we're using for this, and now we're going to discuss the next segment. Later, in Season 3, Episode 6, we see another occasion where just above Marina behind her, at the painting, there's an orb that comes out, moves its way down to the right-hand side of the painting as we're facing it, shows up in front of the dresser, dances around Marina for a little bit, and this is the first time we've seen what I consider to be an orb, as opposed to something that had light either reflecting off of it or emanating from it. And as you can see, as it dances around from behind her and approaches, comes up next to her face in these close-ups, it seems to be moving along in a way that isn't floating. It's definitely not floating from one position to another. It's almost as if it were some sort of flying insect, if you will, that has that kind of searching for somewhere to land, perhaps looking for food. Of course, this isn't an insect, but I'm using that as an example. And then I mentioned that this was the first time I saw an orb. Let me magnify this, because an orb is something specific, a sphere or a spherical object. And right here, I'm going to stop it. And you can see that it starts to form what could be considered an orb. And you could say to yourself, well, Joe, that's stretching a little bit, don't you think? You'll see that an object appears. It has some shading on the bottom, some light on the top, and it has a circular form, but the shading gives it a sense of a spherical shape, if you will. Now, this is where, when I first started looking at this, I thought to myself, now that is something I didn't expect to see. And yet, by the same token, that was the only frame this thing showed up as a sphere, or an orb. Every other frame, it seemed to move along like a speck of light. So, is it an orb? Is it a sphere? Is it a speck of light? Is it a particle? What is it? Okay, now this one, I want to show you where at one point there's something that comes out of her left temple. For 21 frames, I counted them. And don't know what it is, just like the other one, except this one emanates from Marina, as opposed to the other one, which seemingly came into the room. Now, this other one I refer to as bashful because it came into the room and then just popped right back out again. Almost as if it realized, oh no, I don't want to be here. And it reminded me of this meme. It definitely seemed like it came to the wrong party. And now this next one from Season 3, Episode 8.
It was that bad. It was that bad.
Shows it flying away from Marina as if it were hanging out inside of her hair. And then this one from Season 5, Episode 7, very subtle, comes out from the top of her head. Doesn't travel very far, but you can see it when we have this up-close view, that it raises and heads off. But the background is so bright, we don't know exactly where it went after that, after looking really closely at this. And so there you have it. If you're predisposed to seeing these phenomena as something that would be, let's say, interdimensional or from out of this world, then you have sufficient proof to support your claim. If, on the other hand, you don't have a belief in that kind of phenomena associating itself with anything interdimensional or out of this world, then you too have proof and can point at the very same thing to support your argument. And just like the History Channel, we're going to leave this with something completely unanswered, allowing you to formulate your own ideas, your own conclusions, your own claims, and to support them with this evidence that we've provided you, one way or the other.